tonic of vocalisms.
What is your elixir?
It's just water and pineapple juice. Okay, secret tidbit for young singers out there. I never drink straight water when I'm on stage or like
Really?
off stage because I find that it dries out my mouth even more. But if I put a little juice in it, then it gets like my salivary glands going. And so it just like produces more of my own mouth moisture.
What an interesting concept. And pineapple juice is delicious.
I'm changing lives.
Thank you. One elixir at a time.
One elixir at a time. That's right.
Miss Kathryn Lewek.
Hi.
I feel like the story tells itself, like with the characters.
Does it? This opera, what is the story? You know what I mean?
It's fantastical. It's like...
It's very entertaining.
It's like a dream. It's exactly. The whole time you're going, what is this about? Which I think, like in movies, in movies when you're constantly like, what is going on? Like, who are these characters? Like I feel like that always keeps you intrigued and you're like trying to put the puzzle pieces together, but he doesn't really end it like with a nice little bow.
Well, no,
end.
because
you're just kind of like, okay.
Offenbach actually didn't finish it himself because he died
Mm-hmm.
before he could finish it.
Yeah.
And, a few other people just kind of like tried their hand at finishing it. And so like every production is different. And that's why this was actually kind of a little more stressful than a lot of jump-ins are for me, because the production that I did in Berlin a year ago when I sang all four of the heroines, we did spoken dialogue instead of the recitative in between arias and duets. So I had to learn all of that from scratch, plus the two ensembles at the end, which weren't used in the production that I did. So it was like, in combination with trying to like throw this complicated four roles back into my brain, I also had this new material to learn, and of course the staging is, a factor as well. And
I mean, you and Hoffmann are on stage basically the whole time. Yeah. The only time you're not on is right now. Is right now, the prologue. Yeah.
Exactly.
What is your favorite part of the entire opera?
Well, I think
that
everybody,
you sing.
I think everybody's expecting me to say that I love singing Olympia, mostly because that's like people think of me as the coloratura soprano, but it's not actually. It's my least favorite. Emotionally, like as an artist and as an actress, I really like to go through journeys on the stage.
Yes.
And so Olympia goes through no journey. She's the same from start to finish. Juliette has a really interesting arc because, of course, she's like really kind of pulled between this sort of almost hypnotic like desire to have wealth and riches and power. And she is constantly weighing that with her love of Hoffmann and her attraction to Hoffmann, which is genuine. She's not just like completely using him like for no reason. She actually is very attracted to him. She is in love with him, but the wealth kind of just wins out. Antonia is definitely my favorite to sing because her character development going through is not only the most tragic and heart-wrenching, but the music is just superior in my mind. The trio at the end of
it truly is superior. I sang the aria and I was like, it's just nothing special. Like I don't know, it's just like a soprano aria, but you don't really get the arc unless you get the whole story behind it. And when I
also,
heard
when
you
the aria
sing,
goes with the orchestra, it's like,
oh yeah, that too. The orchestra just chef's kiss. That whole thing, the duets, the trios. Like there's just like a wide range of emotions, and it's so funny because compared to Olympia, it's completely different. Olympia is like giggle. Whereas...
But the important thing to remember about this opera, I think, is that all the characters that I sing are really not representations of something that I am showing like deeply as a character. It's actually how Hoffmann views me, because it's stories that he's written about these characters. The only actual genuine character who has any like actual depth is Stella, because she's the only real person in the opera. The other three are just the imaginative pieces of Stella that he's sort of like, I thought she was this, and then she turned out to be, I thought she was this like beautiful, innocent girl, and she turned out to be a robot. And then, I thought that she was like my sexy lover, and she turned out she was using me.
Yeah.
And then I thought that I had found like the woman of my dreams and I wanted to marry her. And then she wanted to, she's dead to me because she wanted to chase her career instead of being with me. So it's all really, I'm sorry to say, but it's a real Hoffmann pity party.
Oh yeah.
He's got like a lot of self-victimization.
It's Hoffmann's party and he's crying.
Yeah. He's crying if he wants to. That's right.
Literally, that's his theme song.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, it's a really interesting opera for me to do dramatically, simply because I have to constantly keep that in mind, that like I can't ever show something to the audience that Hoffmann doesn't ultimately realize himself, because there
no,
isn't
like,
something deeper.
Secrecy, really.
Because it has to be what he sees.
Yeah.
So yeah, and normally with other dramatic roles like this, I'm showing a lot to the audience of like the emotional process that my character is going through. You're like
inner turmoil.
Because I want them to feel like they're in my world. But it can't be that way. They're in Hoffmann's world and they're seeing what he sees.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's see, what is this opera about?
I think, after being in Hoffmann, I think this is a great first opera.
You do?
What do you think? Like a great first opera for people to see. Like, I think it's a great intro to opera.
Wow. I mean, I'd never really thought about it like that.
Really?
Because I think of like very standard rep. I mean, of course, the thing that I do all the time is magic flute, singing Queen of the Night. So like that to me is the quintessential wonderful first opera. And not to mention that like the production that I do almost every season at the Met, the Julie Taymor, which is the same designer as The Lion King on Broadway.
I didn't know that. I did not know that. Oh my gosh.
That's why it's like so beautiful to look at, and it's got the puppets and the dancers, and there's just so much going on.
Truly.
On stage, and it, the Christmas, the holiday tradition is the shortened version, and it's like under 2 hours. My 5-year-old daughter actually went to it for the first time this season. So like, and actually that wasn't her very first.
What was her review?
Oh, she loved it. And I was preparing myself because I asked her after, like, what was your favorite character? And I was so sure she was going to be like, Papageno, because Rolando Villazón singing Papageno is irresistible. And she was like, you, mommy. I was like, oh my gosh, what are you, 13?
That's so sweet.
But I think Magic Flute is a really wonderful first opera.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, I don't know, I just finished singing Romeo and Juliet with my husband in Ohio.
It's a fun moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like all the pieces coming together, and you get to do that with your husband.
Yeah. Well, the feelings are definitely genuine, and from start to finish. Of course, we actually fell in love while we were doing a production of Lucia di Lammermoor, which was a joint production between Opera Carolina and Toledo Opera. And so we were like in this rehearsal and performance process for about 5 weeks. And that's like exactly how long it took for us to realize we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together.
Like, that's it.
It was like so like it was a fairy tale opera story, you know?
Oh my god.
And so here we are 10 years later with 2 kids and a mortgage and a couple of cars and
and living the dream.
And living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah, and we did Lucia together. And actually, a funny tangent about Lucia, we did that in 2015, but then just last season in the spring, I was singing Lucia again in Opera de Nice in the south of France. And yeah, beautiful.
I'd love to hear you sing Lucia. Oh.
I love singing Lucia. Yeah. But my tenor got sick in the third show. And so the opera company called me knowing that Zach was with me and like the kids were there, and they were like, can you get a babysitter tonight? Because we need Zach.
And you were like, yes, on it.
I was like, all right, let me talk to him and see, because he hadn't sung it for so many years, but he was like,
that's true, and then you have to get it back into your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, he was such a champ about it, and we staged the opera in our apartment in Nice like 6 hours before the show. I mean, it was bonkers.
It was day of?
Yes. 6 hours before the show.
Go, Zach.
Yeah.
Go, Zach.
It was pretty amazing.
That is absolute bonkers.
Yeah. It was like, you're my hero.
The like mental fortitude that you have to just be like, You wake up
to,
one
like, go
day,
out
you're
there
like,
and do
I'm
it
just
all.
gonna, you know, take care of the kids. And
Totally.
like,
He was like getting ready to go out and take them to the market.
Yeah,
you
literally.
know?
Go for a stroll in the park, and then he's like,
oh, instead I'm gonna sing an opera tonight.
A whole opera.
Like one of the hardest roles in all
yes,
of tenor
a very
repertoire.
hard tenor role. Like not like a little, you know, not a little something.
Yeah, and he did a gorgeous job. It was so awesome. And then we've also done Traviata together. He was my first Alfredo. And now
I think Traviata is also a good first opera.
Also a very good first opera, like La Bohème, of course.
Yes, of course.
But definitely Romeo and Juliet is great because like everybody learns about that. Like everybody reads that play in high school.
Yeah, exactly.